So, another video. Time for a bit of a road trip, taking the old truck. The backstory is after my failure or problems with getting the ground prepared for planting a new forest last summer, a viewer actually reached out offering to sell one of those old units made for preparing the ground that you pull behind a big tractor or a forest machine. But it was quite far away, and there is a little, I won't go into all the details. At first it sounded like it would be possible to get help loading it up onto the truck, but that turned out to not be the case in the end. So we, as you saw, we had a quite big load of stuff getting ready to be able to manage loading it ourselves. It was going to turn out to be quite a big ordeal, as you will see. Some road work, and the car that was kind of annoyed us moving slowly cut in front of us ended up having a flat tire. As we arrived to the location, the first order of operation was going to be to pull the unit out because it was kind of tucked into a corner, and it's big and heavy, so we brought in the truck to do that. Hooking up a chain and giving the truck some throttle, and it started moving. It was kind of an uphill and wet grass, and the differential lock on the truck is not working, so we kind of had a bit of wheel spin going. We ended up finding a little piece of chain so we can extend the section we were pulling with and stand on better ground while it's pulling. It ended up getting caught on a kind of a log that the container was placed on, so but we jacked it up a little bit this side and placed some wood pieces under it, so it would kind of climb over that and be able to be pulled out. The initial plan was to see if it was possible to fold it up over itself, because then it's actually shorter than it is wide and would be easier to like fit on the truck bed. It would still hang out a little over one side, but not bad. That turned out to not work. It would probably have been problematic loading it sideways anyway, because I think it's heavier than we first anticipated. The original thought was to kind of build a frame with these heavy duty planks that we are now using as ramps. That's something that was put through the sawmill back home. They are 3-inch thick and 9 inches wide, so beefy planks. And then had stacks of pallets and jack it up high enough that you could back the truck under it and lower it down onto it. But with the jacks we had and the weight of this unit, that might have been a very hard ordeal, even if it would have been possible to fold it over onto itself. So the decision is made here, and that's what we ended up going with, that we're like securing these as ramps and gonna start pulling it up onto the truck. Placed some straps to secure the hitch up to the end of the truck here. That's gonna be tensioned as we go as a safety, that it doesn't slide down on us. We had our trusty chain blocks with us, and we started pulling. At first we pulled on up on the near the hitch of the unit, but we realized it was inefficient, so we hooked up the chain blocks down close to the wheels, gave us a better kind of pulling angle to get it to start climbing onto the truck bed. I realized that it would slide back very far just having it secured to the hitch. A third attachment point down to the frame was added because we had to undo the chain blocks and get another go at it. And with the chain blocks reattached, we could continue inching our way up. We did start having issues that it was drifting to one side, and it was a little hard to kind of make it steer over with the tires being toast and flat, so that would cause some issue, but we were able to solve that. Eventually it was up high enough on the truck bed that we attempted to lower the truck bed, but it did not want to move very fast being this back heavy. Eventually it was lowered. It was running late. This is past 7 p.m. in the evening, even if the sun is still up, and it's quite nice and bright being in Sweden. And the next morning we continued trying to get it into its final position. Some discussion regarding it being a little crooked up there, but the final positioning will be done when it's all the way up where it should be. And at the end, as we were getting close, it turned out to be a little too far on the sticking out too far on the left, and I rather have it stick out more on the right side where you don't have oncoming traffic when you have something sticking out a tiny bit. So the chain blocks were hooked up to pull it sideways. It did not easily want to kind of slide sideways, so we added one of those hide lift and kind of took some weight off the wheel, and then we pulled some where we could move it like 7-10 centimeters, a couple of inches to the side to align things. Started securing it, turned out to be a little premature. Hooked the chain that held it in kind of transportation mode, lowering the rear end down for the transport rather than have them hanging by chains, and we wanted to secure them against the bed. Got the rear lowered down, and then we trimmed away some of the excess of the ramps sticking out. We realized that when we shifted it sideways, it had ended up a little crooked also at some point, so we had to undo some of what we had fastened or loosened that and pulled on the front end to kind of straighten it out on there. And everything looks really good. We have placed some blocks of woods where the teeth that will grab the ground can rest on, and then some more straps in the back to secure these from kind of bouncing around while traveling. And with the hunk of metal secured, it was just a matter of trying to fit all the bits and pieces we had brought as like what we thought we were going to use, even if we didn't use a whole lot of the pallets that came with us. We also had the trailer with the car, because we traveled in 2 vehicles, and so it was a load full of pallets behind the car as we traveled back home. With everything loaded and secured, it was time to start rolling. The water pump seems to hold up. I have some leak on the gearbox now, but more on that later. It's not massive, but enough that I might need to look at it. And I had forgot to release the safety valve for the brakes. Here we go. Another like 500 kilometers. I think I spent more on fuel getting this unit than I paid for the unit itself. The comfort in the truck from '74 is very different compared to a more modern truck. It shakes and vibrates a little, and it's also loud in the cab, but it does a great job. And I would have loved to have an extra gear so you could just travel on flat ground at a kind of lower RPM, but you can't get everything. And it required more than a few fuel stops. The fuel gauge is not working either, so I'd rather stop an extra time than run out of fuel. And some fast food on the travel home. Ran into some heavy thunderstorm on the way back home, and there was heavy lightning but no recording. And got to see the road construction once more. It was very slow going, big gravel in places, and with both vehicles loaded, we don't want to risk a flat tire or something, so for a little distance here it was very slow moving. Every time we stopped, I walked around and
Vilket flakare
pulled on all the
känsla. Det är nog
straps and
bra
felt that
bamba.
nothing started to
Det här
get
blåbamba
loose.
håller på plats.
And we didn't have to resecure anything, so that's good. And by the time we made it here, it felt like we were almost home. It's like another 70 or 80 kilometers to go, but now we are on very familiar grounds where we have been quite a few times in the past. Even if this is into the country, and I mainly travel towards the coast from where I live. And I'm on the driveway back home, and I was gonna record this, but the battery died. So it's home, unloading and looking over it. More will follow.